everybody, and welcome to this new episode of Turnabout podcast. I'm your host, Lucie.
And I used to be a character from a Disney Channel movie. I used to be a tree.
An amazing journey.
Yes, I used to be a weeping willow.
Okay, in an animated film, in a TV series, in a live action. Tell us more, Mr. Tree.
In a podcast.
You're a tree in a podcast?
I was.
Wow, Disney, way to treat your cast members. Very, very shocking.
Aris.
That's your name.
It is. Don't wear it out.
Okay, so...
And welcome back to Turnabout podcast.
Episode, yes. Absolutely. Today's episode is Mice 2. Yay.
No, it's not.
It's not Mice 2. It's our games recommendation.
Yes, so last week we said we had something very special planned, and it's time to reveal what that is. Basically, after we did 8 episodes of recapping
Every single game.
Last week we did
Investigation 2?
No, last week we did average scores, and then we also took a 2-week break. So for 11 weeks we've been talking nonstop about Ace Attorney.
Yes.
So we thought this would be a good idea and a good opportunity to talk about something else for a change.
Yeah.
But without straying too far away from the podcast, basically what we're going to do is discuss other properties which we like and other video games and how they remind us of Ace Attorney and how they tie into. It's basically, if you like Ace Attorney and you have the same taste as us,
you'd probably enjoy those games.
Yeah.
We have also talked about this upcoming episode, this one with Snap. I feel like we've mentioned a couple of times that we're doing this. That we're going to talk about our favorite games in general.
It's been a long time coming.
I think I speak for both of us when we say that our ultimate favorite franchise is probably Ace Attorney. But is it not yours?
It's definitely the one I've invested most emotions and time into.
Yeah.
But I do think that the main difference between us is that you grew up playing it.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Whereas for you, it's another game that you're going to talk about in this episode. But we do both adore this franchise.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So I feel like because this is such a very strong part of our game, the game we're going to talk about is probably, you might like them if you also like Ace Attorney. I feel like Ace Attorney is a big part of our game taste.
Yeah.
So, yes, but before that, of course...
I feel like when we're recording, since we started recording together, I'm not wearing any earphones for the first time when we're recording, and I kind of hear the sound of my voice. I feel like I sound like if someone punched Kermit the Frog into the throat.
What?
I think that's how I sound like.
No, you don't, that's such a specific thing. You do not sound like punched at Kermit the Frog. No. Why would you say that?
I don't know.
You don't sound like it.
Okay, thank
you. Don't
you.
worry. But I do when I listened to the podcast for the first time, it was like, oh shit, I do have an accent. That was my first thing, because everyone was like, oh, you have a very strong French accent. And I'm like, I do not. And then I listened to the podcast and I was like, I do have a French accent. So yeah, it's weird hearing your voice like that.
You're right. The first time I heard the podcast, I was like, I do have a fake accent.
It makes you realize things about your voice you wish you hadn't. But before we talk about this theme...
And the dilemma of if I sound like Kermit the Frog or not.
We need to do our weekly featured artist.
Yay!
Yes.
Who is it this week, Bestie
Well, Bestie Shoe. This week we have the pleasure of featuring Mr. Snaildood.
Mr. Snaildood, welcome.
Yes, or Doodle. They're an artist on Instagram. They do loads of fan art, and they're really good.
I personally love this style because I don't know if you see it, but it kind of reminds me like vintage Disney animated movies.
Kind of like Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty.
The lips they draw is usually reminds me of Moana, which is modern. Like that flat out
Okay,
Moana
I can kind
look.
of see it, yeah.
But the colors and the facial features remind me of like my favorite movies growing up, like Lady and the Tramp or Jungle Book.
See that. Yeah, definitely.
It's very, very like it tapped into my childhood, I feel like.
I see what you mean.
Especially
for the portrait, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
The facial features.
Her style is very like, I don't know. I was gonna say whimsical, but I don't know if that's the kind of word.
Whimsical.
Almost fairy tale like drawings. Drawings that could features in a fairy tale. I really like her style.
You told me you had 3 favorites. Which one are they?
I have 4 actually.
4?
Potentially a 5th.
Okay. Lots of favorites. I have lots of favorites as well.
Shall you begin, my love?
Sure. I think my all-time favorite is Rayfa.
Okay.
Rayfa with the neon green sleeveless shirt. I love her in normal attire. I wasn't expecting it. It caught me off guard, but I kind of feel like I wouldn't have it any other way. Like her like normal clothes look silly when compared to this. I love like how I get it that Kurain is such an isolated country where like it's mostly tradition, but I do love the idea of a teenage girl basically dressing up like what a teenage girl would.
Yeah, I really do like it as well. That's also one of my favorites.
Oh.
It's so good, and I really enjoy Rayfa. We haven't featured loads of fan art of Rayfa because she's such a new character, and I feel like people focus on older games. So
we haven't discussed her a lot either.
We do really like her.
Did we even mention her in Spirit of Justice episode? I feel like we haven't.
I feel like we've mentioned her a lot in the like earlier episode of the podcast, and then we did discuss at length like her relationship with Phoenix. I do remember that. Okay. But we both really like Rayfa.
Yeah, we do.
Spirit of Justice was a flawed game, but I did love her character and what they did with it. And yeah, Rayfa is... It kind of... We haven't had loads of teenage girls who dressed like teenage girls because we had Pearls, but she was wearing her traditional clothing. We have the same thing with Rayfa.
Yeah, Trucy wearing a magician's outfit.
It's often uniforms and traditional clothing. So it was really refreshing to see this on Rayfa. It is really a cute look. Yeah. I do love a good turtleneck.
What about you?
And she rocks it. So that was my first favorite. I loved the Trucy portrait. Okay. With the blue background. Yeah. I think there's a softness to her drawings that is really, really strong in this one. I think I don't know, there's something, it almost looks like, it reminds me of Rory Gilmore. Okay. With the eyes, the face shape, I really like it. I think it's really soft, it's really sweet, and I really enjoyed it.
And very Disney.
Yeah, again. And I like the length of the hair. Okay. Which is a detail we've talked at length about.
I was just about to say we've had this discussion before. Yeah. Yeah. My second favorite, I think, is the pink one where it's Clavier, or it's basically the caption says it's evil Clavier, even though it looks like Kristoff. Yeah. And he's leaning forward. I love this one.
It's my second.
Okay.
It's my favorite too. It's so good.
It's kind of reminiscent of Damon Gunt with the glasses.
It is. And the poster, I feel like.
Yes.
Definitely. And it is a birthday gift for Wee Wee, which is featured on the podcast too. So shout out to Wee Wee as well.
Artists come together.
Yes. I think that's how I found Mr. Snaildude. Okay. Through Wee Wee.
Okay.
Because she was like recommended to me. But yeah, so amazing. It looks so good.
It does.
What's
yours?
Well, I'll just want to say something about this one. I love the color pink used for evil intention, for like evil undertone. I feel like it's such an underused color for that kind of thing because it's just like femininity, and like, you know, pureness. But I feel like pink can be very powerful. Used like that.
For Dahlia.
Exactly. I love it.
Perfect.
And then I really, really like the one where Trucy pulls out Edgeworth of her hat.
Okay.
I thought this was so cute.
It is cute.
It was just like the face that he makes and the way she scrunches her nose. I feel like there's loads of personality to this drawing. There's a whole story. I think this is adorable. And then my last favorite were these two of Phoenix sleeping, and like the second slide is like Trucy. I thought those were adorable, and again, it's kind of softness and very Disney, and also almost like Ghibli-like. This kind of very soft black and white drawings. I loved it.
The second one with Trucy kind of reminds me of Anastasia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So my third and fourth favorites are Ethnic Nayuta. If he looked like that, I'd like him 10 more times.
Really?
Like, I don't know. I think I prefer him looking like this. I like the color of the hair. I think it pops out more, even though it's basically the same. And I think it's because of the skin tone. I really enjoyed this. And the last one is again, a commission for Oui, which is Christophe and Clavier, blue and pink.
I got it.
I like this one mainly because Clavier in the bottom one looks like Daphne from a Scooby-Doo episode.
Definitely.
Mystery Inc.
We love a good androgynous rock star.
I'll put up the image of Daphne in that episode. Basically, I know you watched Mystery Inc.
I did.
It's the one where
she joins the
Hex Girls.
Yeah, I remember.
That with her ponytail.
And she's like in a fight with Fred.
Yes.
Every episode, there's a Scooby-Doo discourse. There is.
It just is. So, yeah. So, that is Mr. Snaildoodle. Mr. Snaildude.
Thank you again for letting us feature your work.
Yes.
You were so lovely.
Please go check them out. Follow them.
Her account is below in the description.
Yes, linked below on Instagram. And yeah, thank you for agreeing for your work to be featured.
Thank you. We loved your work, and thank you again.
Yes.
So now...
Perfect.
Let's move on to the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty?
What? So...
The poopy McPeety?
We've heard you finished playing Ace Attorney. What should you play now, what have we played after?
Is that the word on the street? You finished playing Ace Attorney?
That's what I've heard from my cousins, sisters, housekeepers, dog, nannies, neighbor.
Okay. And now look at you, falling on all fours, crawling to us for recommendations.
I wouldn't say crawling on all fours, but
you are crawling on all fours, pathetic weakling.
Calm down. You're not talking to the bellboy. This is not the bellboy. These are very nice viewers. What the fuck? Okay.
Okay. So.
Yeah. Do you want to begin, Aris?
We have a structure for each.
Yes.
For each property, we'll be asking the same questions. Basically, what is it? Why do you like it and how you got into it? What aspects do they share with Ace Attorney? And then we thought, how could we make it even spicier and say, choose an Ace Attorney episode which best depicts the property we're talking about?
Yeah.
And then by the end, if we manage to sell each other, to have we convince you to play it. Perfect. Do you want to go first?
let's go.
Okay.
My first property, it's a series of games, and I think it's the most, least surprising one on the list. It's Professor Layton. Because it has loads of ties with Ace Attorney. There's even an infamous game featuring both of them.
The crossover, which shall not be named.
But yeah, Professor Layton for me is very similar to Ace Attorney. It's like puzzles and enigmas, but each game is with an overall stories, and you have to kind of decipher through the lives of some people, and it's a really fun game. I do feel like Professor Layton is a bit more targeted to children compared to...
I was just about to ask you. I thought it was targeted towards old women.
Really? For me, Professor Layton is mostly for children.
Because I think my grandma played it.
Really? Yeah. Oh my god, that's so cute,
My grandma had a DS.
That's so cute. But I feel like usually people who play Ace Attorney have played Professor Layton, and vice versa. Like, most of the people who I knew, like, Ace Attorney is not popular at all in France, and I struggled to find people who knew even about it, and the only people who knew about it were people who had, like, played Professor Layton.
Or only investigations.
Yes. Like, my physics professor.
We're not getting into that.
But yeah, Professor Layton is, so it's 6 games, 2 trilogies. Every game is really good. The fourth one, I mean, there's some that are less good, but the quality is overall really good. And really fun games.
Okay.
And I got into it, I think, around this, like, I was really young, 8, 10, around the same time as Ace Attorney. I don't know which one came first, but yeah, and I've played every single game. I've replayed one recently. And it's a fun series of game, definitely.
So you've covered all 3 first questions without me asking them.
Oh, do you wanted me to ask them? I thought it was like the train we were following.
Okay. No, it's okay. So you've covered what it is, why do you like it, how you got into it, and what aspects it shares with AA.
So it is kind of a... I wouldn't know if it's not a visual novel.
I've never played it, but I know what it is, and because my grandma played it as well, I like know how it works.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a visual novel, but it's because it has gameplay.
It has loads of gameplays. It's more like it's a detective game.
Yeah, it's a puzzle game.
It's a puzzle game, and there's an overall enigma for each game, and you have to solve it. And I feel like it's kind of the same way you have to solve the murder cases.
Yeah, it's very... Like, you don't really need to explain how it fits in with AA, Ace Attorney, because...
It is a detective game, so it's kind of like the same genre.
Like, it fits automatically by default.
Definitely.
So, which Ace Attorney episode do you think mostly represents?
I actually need a little time to think about it, because the obvious answer is Ace Attorney versus Phoenix Wright.
Okay.
But if I had to pick...
No, it's a case, though.
Yeah, I know.
And not from that game.
I know!
I feel like the most Professor Layton thing in the entire Ace Attorney series is Luke Admey's office.
That's an excellent answer. Yeah, I think that'll probably...
Like, would it be the stolen?
I think so, yeah. Aris just helped me out.
Okay.
And
we needed the cat, like...
Yeah.
Basically.
I was thinking...
She couldn't think.
Yeah, I was in too much pressure. But yeah, I think the right answer is the stolen turnabout. Because Luke Admey's outfit, that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
I also do think, like, I don't know, I'm getting Professor Layton vibe from the great Ace Attorney, even though it's not a episode.
You know, if I had played it, my answer would probably be the magical turnabout.
Really?
Because because that kind of reminded me of what I've seen of Professor Layton.
The thing is, Professor Layton is in a town. Like, every game is in a different town. So it's... At first, I wanted to say the sister turnabout. because it's very local, as we've previously mentioned. It's like just in the same town and feels like the same kind of neighborhood. And that's very Professor Layton. Like, you go into each street, you know every neighbor in that street and stuff. But I do think Look At Me's office is giving me loads of Professor Layton vibes. So the Sterling Turnabout / the Sister Turnabout.
Okay.
For the localness.
Yeah.
Your turn, baby.
Have you sold me?
Well, I know I haven't. Because you refuse to play the game.
I refuse to play Ace Attorney Phoenix, right?
Why, though?
It's so hard to get my hands on it.
Yeah. If you had a DS, it'll be...
I do have a DS.
It is on DS.
It won't let me.
It's a curse. Is it not on Switch?
No.
I'm hoping maybe with the Great Turnabout.
The Great Ace Attorney.
Yeah, the Great Ace Attorney, it'll be like... Maybe they'll re-put some things.
I'm hoping.
On
I'm
the
hoping.
Switch store?
I'm hoping most Ace Attorney related media gets a
Maybe
port
on
for
Death
Switch.
Moon. Nah.
I tried.
It is a good game, though.
I'm sure. Because both you and Snap talk highly about it.
Okay.
Perfect. So the one I want to start with, basically, is... I kind of wanted to start with the one I grew up with and hold most fondly, but I'm not going to do that because I want to mention the one which I feel like fits in the most, like you did with the Ace Attorney, and that would be Ghost Trick.
Aha, yeah.
So, what is it? Ghost Trick is a game written by Shu Takumi, the writer of the Ace Attorney trilogy, and I think also Apollo Justice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And the Great Ace Attorney. And
this is so exciting.
It's such a good game. I love it. I think, I love it more than some of the Ace Attorney games. I think it's such an... This is, again... I wouldn't consider it to be a game. I do consider it to be a game, but I consider it to be more of a visual novel. And that's because the gameplay, although it's different to Ace Attorney, because you kind of control around the spirit, your player, with the stylus. Although it is gameplay, interactive, it takes a back seat for the narrative and the plot. There's more narrative and story rather than gameplay.
The gameplay isn't intertwined with the story.
Not really. It's just complete this puzzle in order to learn what happened next, and you're in a hurry to finish the puzzle in order to find out what happened next. Not to say that the gameplay isn't good. It's super good, and at times it's also really tricky and difficult. There's the order which you have to do stuff in is very annoyingly difficult. But that being said, I love it. The story is so good. The characters are so reminiscent of Ace Attorney. It's like playing something out of the Ace Attorney universe. There's spirits. It's a mystery. The music is literally divine. I listen to it while I study. It's so good. And yeah, I was on the App Store and I was looking, because I played all of the Ace Attorney games on my phone, unfortunately. And Capcom, I was looking at Capcom's page and there were Ace Attorney games, and then there was Ghost Trick.
That's how you got into it?
That's how I got into it. I didn't know anything prior about it. I didn't know anything about it prior to playing. So it was really interesting. I went into it with no expectations and not knowing anything. And yeah, I left feeling amazed. I think it shares a lot with Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
I 100% recommend it.
Definitely. And we're actually going to do an episode on Ghost Trick next week. So we're not going to talk too much about it in too much detail. Because
I found it. It's so difficult to find it. I know it's been removed from the App Store.
For some reason.
Yeah, Capcom removed it. And I found it on eBay. I got into a bidding war.
A whole adventure.
And then finally, since we've reunited, I gifted it to Lucie.
And I'm playing it right now.
Because...
I had the game.
And
I
she
owned
lost it.
No, I didn't lost it.
Oh, your brother sold it.
My brother sold it without my consent.
That's even worse.
So, but I had started playing it when I was a kid. I remember the first level, but it was in English, and I didn't really speak English at the time. So I stopped, but I'm playing it. I'm halfway done with the game. I will definitely be done by next week for our next podcast. And yeah, it's really good.
It's so good. So that answers the question of have I sold it?
Yes.
I mean, I've been nagging her for months to play it, so it lives up to the expectations. Yes.
And what would you say is the closest?
All right. I'd have to say Turnabout and Reunion. It involves spirit channeling, but also... like heavily into it's heavily involved in spirit channeling, but also letting you there's a lot of locations in Ghost Trick, such as a restaurant, a park, a junkyard. You explore lots of locations, and that's also what I think of when I think of Turnabout and Reunion. Like you visit Hottie Clinic, you visit the village.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah. What about you, bestie Sock?
My second series, it's 2 games. It's and it's Hotel Dusk and Last Window. So those are the same, it's the same franchise. Hotel Dusk is the follow-up. No, Last Window is the follow-up to Hotel Dusk. And though those are excellent games and a huge part of my childhood as well. So Hotel Dusk is a game set in a hotel in California where the main character spends a night and has to unravel the mystery of there, and also personal mysteries, investigating something. It's so good. It's definitely a visual novel. And it's more there are some tricky gameplays, but it's more definitely discussion heavy and kind of talking your way out of situations. The mystery is really interesting. The vibe is it's very... I've had loads of people compare it to L.A. Noire. It's very old-timey detective films, black and white.
Yeah.
I will just give a warning. The protagonist is an asshole. That is just a fact.
Let me just answer the question of has she sold it to me. She has not. Because actually, last year when we met, she recommended it to me, and I finally got around to play it after the pandemic happened. I low-key had such a bad experience playing it.
Because, first of all, didn't you have a problem with it wouldn't turn or something like that?
Yeah, basically, this is supposed to be played sideways on the DS.
You're supposed to hold your DS
like a book. So I emulated it on my Mac, and right off the bat, I had issues with the controls. But at the same time, I didn't know that you could lose.
Yeah.
And I was just getting the hang of it, and I was kind of being annoyed by the protagonist as well.
You definitely, first of all, have to play it with a walkthrough. It's one of those games. But the story is amazing. The protagonist is such an asshole. Cal Hyde. For instance, I remember, you'll spend the entire game talking to people and trying to get information out of them, and then it'll be why do people come and tell me their lives when you spend 30 minutes trying to get them to tell you something? He's such an asshole, but also I love him. I do.
Very unsympathetic, and the nail on the coffin for me when I was playing I made some progress, and then the reason I lost is because I tried. There was optional dialogue with a child who was crying on the stairs, and I chose the worst decisions. Like, I yelled at it and told it, like, you're a brat and stuff like that, and then I lost.
You lost, you got kicked out of the hotel.
I got kicked out of the
you.
hotel.
That will teach you a lesson about yelling at children.
I won't play a game that doesn't support my hatred for children.
But apart from Kyle Hyde being kind of an asshole, which is also part of his charm, I had 3 huge childhood crush related to video games. Phoenix Wright, Kyle Hyde, and the third one is in the video game. It's Alphonse from Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay.
Those was my 3 big crush. But Kyle Hyde, Jesus Christ, he was so hot and an asshole, and I liked it. But yeah, it's a really good game. Apart from that, I do understand how some people could be frustrated, but it's such a good story and
some
it's such a good game. Because I do think it's like a well-known criticism of the game. And Last Window is my personal favorite out of the 2. It's not set in a hotel. It's set in your apartment building, so where you live, and it's all like the lives of your neighbors, and you get to know them, and it's just so cool. I love that. That game fascinated me as a kid. And so the way I got into it, again, my brother gave it to me when I was like 12, and it fascinated me. There is also a character that really reminds me of Larry. That's called Louie, and those 2 characters are like the same exact vibe.
Okay.
So for which character is like which episode is gonna I was gonna say the last case of the first game.
Turnabout Goodbyes.
Yeah, with like kind of Leigh Gord. Especially for like, this kind of thing with like Larry and loads of people. Nothing really compares to it in the universe of Phoenix, right? Because it's such a like very film noir kind of thing, and it's set in the 70s. It's a very precise vibe, but yeah, just any case with Larry really reminds me of it.
Okay. Perfect.
What about you?
So the second one I want to talk about is the one I grew up playing, and that's Sly Cooper.
Aha!
I'm sure you know what it is. So basically, what is it? It's a series of games, 3 games, which are based in a universe of anthropomorphic characters, animals, and you follow a thief who is a raccoon. And he comes from a long line of thief ancestors who all write what they have to say in their special moves and techniques in a book, which is highly regarded in the lineage. It's called the Thievius Raccoonus, and it's been passed down for generations. And one day when Sly is, I think, 8 years old, and he's supposed to inherit the book, his parents get tragically killed by a group of evil animals, basically, and they steal the book. And they
bitch.
And they rip it to shreds and all take the pages.
The disrespect.
I know. So Sly survives the attack, and he goes to an orphanage where he meets his lifelong best friends, Bentley the Turtle and Murray the Hippo.
I love those names.
This sounds so stupid, but I swear it's such a good game. So basically, he embarks on a journey when he becomes 18 after they leave the orphanage to take back the pages and avenge his parents.
Good for them.
Good for them, yeah, with the help of his friends. And then the events of the first game transpire and the second and third game come out with expansion on the main story. It's a platforming game. I think it's over 20 years old at this point. And no, I'm like around 20 years old. Yeah, I grew up playing it. Basically, I remember I went with my dad to get a game. I don't remember what the game was, but at the video game shop, when I was like 2 or 3, they didn't have it, and I started crying. And we bought Sly Cooper instead, not knowing what it was. And just since then, it's become my lifelong obsession. Like, that's what my Tumblr account is dedicated to.
Yeah.
And I watched my dad playing it, and eventually, although I was scared, like, got around to playing it and played it for myself. And now, like, I think I've played it, like, so many times in my life where I know, like, the dialogue and the lines.
That is so cute.
Like,
how frequently do you play it?
I think every few months.
Every few months?
Like, maybe twice a year.
Oh my god.
It's my go-to therapeutic thing. Like, yeah, I love it. And there's also a fourth game, which if you're listening because you know me through Tumblr, you probably know I have mad beef with the fourth game. Was mad beef. It was made 8 years later after the third game from another company, from another game developer.
Oh. So they didn't respect the original material?
There's a lot of things wrong with that game. Okay. I won't get into it, but yeah. I'm specifically talking about the trilogy, the first 3 games, and yeah. How it fits in with the AA games is basically they'd both be classified as adventures. It's not necessarily the same, and the similarities are very few, but I think it's the same good storytelling. It's the same good plot. I think if you like Ace Attorney, you'd probably like Sly Cooper, although very different in gameplay style. Yeah,
but kind of in
characters,
the way it makes plot, you feel like we've played it similar. And we know that Snap like both, so that's a pretty good account. Yes, it's actually pretty accurate what I'm saying. If it had to be an Ace Attorney episode, it would no doubt be The Stolen Turnabout. Yeah. Obviously. Okay. Because it's about thieves. Have I sold it? Yes, you have. Perfect. I mean, I don't have the material to play it, so I haven't. And I don't know. I don't know if I'll play it in the near future. But yeah, it does sound interesting. Yes, it does. It's my favorite game. Perfect. My next entry is a game called The Return of the Obra Dinn. I picked this one because, first of all, I've played it very recently. And it's a detective game. Okay. It is very different from Ace Attorney, and it has a completely different gameplay. But it is it's not so about, it's about uncovering a mystery. You're a detective, and you go on a ship where every single person has died, and you need to figure out how they've died, by whom they've been killed, and who they are. Okay. Just by looking at their corpse. I've never heard of this. Yeah, and you can see like the last few seconds before their death. It's kind of, it kind of reminds me of Ghost Recon. Yeah, it's a really good game. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's all in black and white, and basically you can approach the corpse and see the last moment before the death, and try to decipher who they are, try to figure out who they are, what killed them, who killed them. It's really interesting. It's made by this video game creator that also made Paper Please, which I haven't played but would like to, and it is so interesting. It's very unique. I've never seen anything like it, but it's such a creative way to have this kind of detective story. And yeah, loads of fun. I got introduced it by a friend. We played it on the Switch, and it was really good. We finished it rather quickly, I think in maybe 15-ish hours. I mean, it's not quickly, but yes. So that's how I got into it. What are the other questions?
It's what is it? Why do you like it and how you got into it? What aspects do they share with Ace Attorney? You've answered.
Yeah, kind of detective game.
So choose an Ace Attorney episode which best depicts the property.
So I picked two. I picked the obvious, the aquatic Turnabout, because
it's based on a
pirates, ship, all that stuff. But for vibes, I feel like it's very different for Ace Attorney, but I would maybe say Turnabout Samurai, because it's kind of the same thing of like they're a team and there's loads of betrayal, the same way that Samurai was like
Samurai?
a film crew. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a team of people who work together, and with, treason and betrayals, and it's kind of this stuff.
Okay.
So that was, have I intrigued you in it?
You've definitely sold me, because although I hate the person who told you about it.
I hate that person too.
Although we hate the person that introduced it to you, my main complaint about Nintendo Switch is that although it's a great console, there's definitely a lack of titles, and when you go to buy something from the online shop, they go out of their way to like promote their own games. Like there's not 1 week which will pass and Luigi's Haunted Mansion will not be in the top page of games. That so it's very hard to find something, and this looks great.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna see what it's about and maybe buy it.
Definitely. If you like it, then you could definitely try Paper Please, which I've heard is amazing. I don't know if Paper Please is on Switch though.
Okay. I'll check it out after this.
Perfect.
Perfection.
Exciting.
So.
What about you?
I don't know which one to say next.
Yeah, I was like, questioning myself.
Okay. The next ones I'm actually going to say are something very mainstream, but which I hold dearly nonetheless. It's the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah.
Okay. These are so good. Like, so good. Something which I rarely mention is how much I love comic books.
Yeah, true.
Like, it's an aspect of me which doesn't really come out that often. But I am very interested in them. I have a huge collection back home. And that's what I wanted to do when I was little. Like, I wanted to write comic books and create them.
That's so cute.
So, right off the bat, you have a DC property, like the most famous one. And it's taken and turned into such a grim, dark version, which is, excuse me, so good. It's reminiscent of...
what the fuck? Wait, I'm just gonna look. What is... The neighbors are throwing a party?
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of... What's he called? The guy who directed Inception?
Nolan?
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's Batman movies.
Definitely.
Because
I think that's so interesting, because usually, like, before that, it was... Like, when you look at old-timey Batman adaptation, it's much more goofy and, like, colorful.
Like, he has, like, tools, like, shark repellent.
Yes!
And there's the Adam West 60s Batman as well. So it was definitely not as dark. But the Arkham games are 100% recommend for me. It starts with Arkham Asylum, then it's Arkham City, and then it's Arkham Knight. It's a trilogy. They're legit. The gameplay is like, there's combat based, but there's also puzzles, because what they really do well is the way they blend Batman obviously being a beast in combat and like you beat up crooks and stuff like that, but there's also like the detective stuff is so good. There's lots of puzzles, and like especially like there's lots of puzzles in the main story, but also if you're like more into, like if you want to delve more into, like they give you a choice. You can either engage in more combat by having like challenges and like combat based levels and training, or you can go around the hubs and find Riddler trophies, which he's scattered around the like world and the universe for you to find, and they're all based on puzzles. Like you should find them. Some of them are riddles. Like you have to find specific objects which are answers to riddles and photograph them. It's so good. Like I haven't even talked about the stories. Like it takes the lore and it makes it dark and gritty, but at the same time so intriguing. Like you know these characters if you read comics, but it just like it incorporates disease, death of loved ones, morality, like very heavy themes. And I think that's how, like the detective aspect obviously is what ties it to Ace Attorney. But yeah.
So it's a detective game? Is it like a mystery?
It's also a detective. Yeah, there's definitely mysteries.
Yeah.
Definitely mysteries. Yeah.
Okay.
If I had to choose an Ace Attorney episode which best depicts the property, I mean, it's 3 games as well, so I can't really pin it down. But if I had to choose something, it would probably be... I would have to say either Turnabout Samurai or, unfortunately, The Monsters Turnabout. Which I gave a 1, which I scored, like, I gave it a score of 1 last week. I know, it's my worst case, but I think both Samurai and The Monsters Turnabout show how, not show, but they're very campy, like camp, and that's kind of what Arkham games are. Like, yeah, they're super like greedy and realistic, but like there's still a fucking like human-sized crocodile villain, or like a scarecrow. There's like a certain camp to it.
I mean, LaBelle is basically the Joker, so it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. Have I sold it?
Definitely. I always thought about Batman games as just like combat. I didn't know it was so detective and mystery heavy. I'm really intrigued now.
It's so good. Yeah.
And I've heard they're amazing.
They are. Like award winning. It's especially Arkham City, the second one. It's like, I think it won like awards.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Because it's also like huge franchise. So,
yeah. Perfect.
My next one on the list is Heavy Rain, which is another... I feel like Heavy Rain is well known.
It is.
Yeah, a very popular... I don't know, it kind of falls under the same kind of vibe as Batman Arkham City for me. Like, this kind of... It's definitely aimed at more grown-up people than what I've talked about previously. So Heavy Rain is a detective game where you have to solve the mystery of a serial killer killing children by locking them into like sewer system, and basically their parents have to save them. It's called Heavy Rain because he kidnapped children, put them in those kind of sewer system, and during heavy rain it fills up with the rain, and they have to save them in time before the children drown to
This
death.
sounds like Saw.
Yeah, it's very dark. It's from the same company that did Fahrenheit 4151, which was terrifying, gave me nightmare for death. I'm not gonna tell the plot. I mean, I can, but it's like not relevant. But like Fahrenheit is much worse in the
Beyond
plot.
Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls, which I haven't played. But
with Elliot Page, right?
Yeah. So Heavy Rain, you play 4 characters. One of them is detective working on the case. one of them is the parent of the child who's been kidnapped. Then there's, I think, a female police officer who's also looking, or who has lost someone, I don't remember. And then the last one is also a kind of investigator. I just remember he's really into cocaine.
Okay.
But I mainly remember the detective and the parent of the kid who's been kidnapped. It's a really good game. I got into it when it came out and played it with my family. It's really interesting. If I had to compare it to a case, I picked Farewell My Turnabout, because kidnapping of a minor with Maya, and I feel like Farewell My Turnabout is a very dark case for the franchise, with Vanguard and suicide and all that stuff. So I think it was the only case that reflected the darkness of Heavy Rain. But yeah, it is a really interesting game. I recommend it.
Okay.
Have I sold you?
I mean, I was sold the minute you said it involved child murders. I'm kidding.
I was sure.
I'm kidding.
I was sure about it.
I knew of. I've heard of Heavy Rain. I wasn't so sure what exactly it involves, but I heard of it from like the age I was like 12 or 13.
I think that's when it came out for us. Yeah.
Like maybe a bit older, because the reason I knew it was because I was watching, like, in my early teenhood, I was watching PewDiePie play Beyond Two Souls. So I know what happens in Beyond Two Souls, but he was saying how it's from the same guys who did Heavy Rain, and how that was so excellent. But I never, like, got into it. But now I'm excited to see, like, what it is, and if it sounds like such a mystery. Is it by Telltale? No, it's not, right?
Oh, I'll look.
Telltale Games. It's not, right? I just remembered of something else which I want to say. It's another property, and I think it feels better. I think it's
Quantic Dream.
Okay. I think it fits better with one other property.
Okay.
Is it available on Switch?
Heavy Rain? I think it's PlayStation.
Okay, so I feel like I take much more time than you do.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't apologize. I'm the one who's taking forever. But yeah, the next... Now, I had something else on my list, but because I asked you if it's Telltale, I remembered a game which I sunk, like I suppressed to the depths of my memory.
What is it?
It's called Puzzle Agent. It's from Telltale Games. That's why I remembered it just now.
Puzzle Agent.
It's Puzzle Agent 1 and 2. It is... I played it as an app, and I think it's available for Switch. Steam. It's so good. Like, and I don't know, like, I guess I wanted to say it, like, I went out of my way to insert it into my list, even though it wasn't on my list, because it's so reminiscent of Ace Attorney in the sense that it's not similar, but it's similar because it's both, it's a mystery. So what happens is that it's funny, like, it's comedic, but basically there's a puzzle, what do you call it, like a puzzle agency under the FBI. Okay. Like how they have criminal affairs, like they have a puzzle category. Okay. And it's just this single dude who's obsessed with puzzles, and like he never gets a job, and he finally gets a job, and it's in Scoggins, Minnesota. Okay. Where it's like in the middle of nowhere. And basically a man went missing. And everyone is like, it's kind of like cult vibes, like everyone is very hush hush about it in the city, like in the small town. It's like a very small community, and it's actually 2 games, and it's so good. The puzzles are very hard. Like, they actually require logic. I played it when I was like 12. Again, like, it's really old, and I haven't played it in such a long time. I think it's been removed from the App Store.
Really?
Yeah. I think I tried downloading it like a few years ago, and I couldn't find it. So good. Highly recommended. Yeah, it's very puzzle based.
Okay. Yeah.
And you have to ask around and move around. Very Ace Attorney like in terms of gameplay. It's like if you matched Professor Layton and Ace Attorney, which I know it already exists, this mashup, but still it's like a weird amalgamation of the two.
I love stuff centered around like a singular town. Like, I love this kind of stuff when you really get to explore one place and it all has the same vibe. So yeah, I'm into it. Like,
the facilities all have their own puzzles. Like, for example, in the second game, you want to check into the hotel, and because the people, like the woman in the reception, is hesitant to invite the protagonist in because, like, it's again cult attitude. You have to sort people in the rooms, but everyone has their own preferences. Like, this guest doesn't want to live on the second floor. And it's stuff like that. Or at the restaurant, the waitress will only give you information if you help her give the food to the people with the specific allergies.
This is so Professor Layton-y.
It's like very cartoony.
Yeah, I think if you'd like that, you'd like Professor Layton.
I definitely liked it. So yeah, if I had to choose an Ace Attorney episode which best represents Puzzle Agent, like, again, there's not a lot to go on with. There's the similarities are like not a lot, but because it's so centered around the snow as well, and there's also, like, I would have to say, because of the snow, it's similar to Turnabout Big Top. But, and because it's cartoony as well, but it is also heavily involved in cosmic stuff. There's like space stuff, like with aliens and stuff. So I'd also have to say the Cosmic Turnabout. All right. Yeah. Got it. Have I sold you? Yeah, definitely. I hope you find it. Look it up. I hope you find it. I mean, if I can. It's so good. For sure. It's so good. I'm thinking about which one I'm going to talk about. I'll just like to say, for the record, I remembered which character it was for Heavy Rain. It's the father, one of them, an FBI agent, which is like the lead detective, a private eye, and a journalist. Who's the crackhead? The private eye. Okay. So I just wanted to say that I think the next thing I'm going to talk about is Trauma Center. Yes! Which is a series of games which are visual novels as well. Yes. And I've actually played Trauma Center before Ace Attorney. If I remember correctly. Oh my god. Yeah, a long time ago. I had revelation. My tiny DS. My tiny pink DS. Oh my god. And I remember playing it like, I think so. Did you also have it on the Wii? Because I know some of the sequels were on the Wii. Yeah. I had it both on the... I think the second one is only on the Wii and the first one... Or is it the contrary? It started off on the DS and then it goes onto the Wii and then it went back onto the DS. Okay. Like the Wii additions to it were very short-lived. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, the first Trauma Center. Yeah, I don't know. Wait. Let me look it up. I'm confused. The first one is Trauma Center Under the Knife. Yeah. And that was... platform. Yeah, that was on the DS. I remember playing that. And then there was Second Opinion, which was on the Wii. And then there's like New Blood, which I haven't played. But I think there's Under the Knife 2, which one is in Africa?
Anyway.
There's loads of them.
There's loads of them, and it is a visual novel. I think what separates it from Ace Attorney, the gameplay is very different. For Trauma Center, it's very based on agility and how fast you can do each operation, and it's loads of like flexibility in the fingers and trying to be quick and trying to think quickly. So it's not riddles and puzzles the same way other video games I've talked about it, but it is a really fun game. The music is amazing and the characters are really interesting, and you kind of follow this mystery around of like this new disease that pops out of nowhere. And it's a really fun game. Like, you play this new brilliant rookie, kind of like Phoenix, that has a gift for it, and you have this nurse that follows you around. It's just such a fun game. And it is, for me, Ace Attorney is Ace Attorney is to lawyers what Trauma Center is for doctors. Like, it's not how doctors are, but it is a really fun game based on the medical field. And yeah, it's great. I don't really know what to say more, but it's just one of those really fun, enjoyable games. And great storytelling and a really good visual novel in the same realm of Ace Attorney. So for cases that reminded me of it, I picked Reunion because of director Hottie, and that it is kind of based on the medical field, with Inimini being a nurse.
It's the only episode we have in a hospital.
Yeah.
We also have
When Phoenix.
No, and Paul Maractus.
We do have Paul Maractus, and also
Alita Tiala going to the...
when Phoenix gets run over.
Oh, that is in Corner.
Yeah, that's in Corner, yeah. So, yeah, and the other thing I want to talk about, the only thing similar to the gameplay of Trauma Center in the Ace Attorney franchise for me would be logic chess, because it does require, like, you need to be very quick. And it's kind of the same vibe as Trauma Center.
I would love, I would love to see an Ace Attorney case based in a hospital.
Definitely.
We haven't had one directly based one in it.
Only in an hospital. That could be so interesting.
Like the medical Turnabout or Turnabout IV.
That would be good.
That sounds awesome.
And like maybe different types of doctors, like a surgeon,
a neurosurgeon,
a dermatologist, all those kind of different fields. Yeah. Nurses, patient. Could be fun. Yeah, so that was Trauma Center for you.
Such a good game.
Such a good game.
Basically,
I sold you?
I have played this game. I emulated on the laptop though, so my experience was kind of short because I couldn't really move the mouse.
It is like, I remember specifically on when you played on Wii, you had your controller in one hand and your like switch thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was like, I still
had a hard time.
Yeah, but I still remember which one to press for each, like the syringe and different kind of stuff, because it's so ingrained. Like, it's so, the gameplay is so engraved with holding it in your hands. It will be complicated to play it on a computer, definitely. Yeah, it was very difficult, but the vibes are absolutely there. The vibes are great, yeah. I played the first one. It was so engaging. It was like playing Grey's Anatomy, which I've only watched 2 episodes of, but I identified it immediately. And I like how it's the lives of the people there involved and how it's basically a visual novel. Definitely. And I also like how, there's different cities involved and the backdrop changes as well, like Tokyo to Kyoto and stuff. Yeah. I really liked it. And also, you're 100% right about the music. One of my favorite music from games in general is Gentle Breeze. I'll play it now. is really good.
It's so good, like legit so good. And yeah, you have sold me. I wish I had played it on the DS. I would definitely finish it. And I know like you're trying to stop a virus, but also like there's a mastermind behind that virus as well.
And I do remember there's kind of a similar like Edgeworth to Phoenix relationship where you have one of your past like med school comrade and it goes on to doing different stuff and then you reunite like
very similar.
It came out after Ace Attorney.
Oh.
And I do think it might have some inspiration from Ace Attorney because it is a very like specific field with like lawyers and medical, and it is a visual novel. So it's definitely not like a rip-off of Ace Attorney, but I do think it has some similarities. So maybe it got inspired from it.
So yeah, there you have it, the Ace Attorney of the medicine world.
Yes. What is your next entry?
My next entry would have to be like now we're entering into the we're entering into the area of my recommendations where it's just games I like, but don't necessarily have anything in common with Ace Attorney. So I'm sorry about that. But the next one I have to recommend is probably something you've already played, like most people have played. It's Undertale and Deltarune. It is so good. So good. And yeah, I can't praise it enough. I love these games. So basically, I know you've heard of it before, you haven't played it, but you don't necessarily know what goes on.
I just know
Megalovania.
Megalovania. That's all I know about it.
Yeah, the soundtrack is iconic. It is very much a one-man show. Toby Fox made the music, wrote the script, programmed it, everything.
That's amazing.
And I think it started by him having a dream in university or something like that. I've read something. I'm not sure if it's that. I think the plot for Deltarune was a dream, and then he built onto it.
That's amazing.
So basically, he made it on Game Studio 2, which is that there. I'm showing Lucy my desktop because I know you can't see us. He made it on his laptop.
That's so crazy.
That's insane. And now it's like one of the highest grossing games. Like very a lot. Well, no, I don't know if it's one of the highest grossing, but it definitely has its fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, to sum it up very simply, is a very complicated story. But there was a war between humans and monsters, and the monsters got locked up underneath the ground. That's why it's called Undertale. And you play a human which falls into the underground. And you try to make your way out of it.
Okay.
But on your way, you encounter lots of obstacles. And basically, there's a lot of goofy characters which you decide their fate. You have a choice. You have several choices. Basically, the three main modes of playing are pacifist, which you choose not to kill anyone. Normal, which is basically killing some.
Yeah.
And genocide, which is killing every single thing you encounter.
So is there different endings?
There are different endings. And also in the normal route, I feel like it has a name, but I forgot. I know it's pacifist and genocide, but I'm not sure if it's like normal. Anyway, but the normal route, there's lots of variation. Like you have certain dialogue because you choose to kill some characters and some others you let go. But depending on who you kill and who you let go shapes the story as well. And yeah, I love this game. Actually, Snap recommended it to me.
That's how you got into it?
That's how I got into it.
Nice.
And the prequel, which is called Deltarune. It's chapter 1 is only available. Toby Fox is working on
that's so
more
cool.
now, and he had some wrist problems. That's why he stopped. But yeah, it's coming along, and the first chapter is free on the Switch.
And what do you think about it?
I loved it.
So far, so good?
It has, again, one of my most favorite music pieces in gaming ever. It's called Rude Bastard. Okay. I'll play it now. I think that is such a good piece of music, and yeah, I love it. I think it's so innovative and revolutionary. As gameplay is nothing spectacular. It's bit 8-bit, I don't know, retro gaming. I don't know how to say it. But
is it riddles? Is it combat? Is it
there's
platform?
I think it's role playing.
Okay.
So there's you only have a box in the bottom of your screen, and you're a heart. And when you're combating, there's stuff you have to avoid, and just the heart goes around.
Okay.
But depending on how you want to play, if it's genocide or pacifist, you either have to talk the person you're facing out of
killing you.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, it's legit one of the best games I've ever played.
How long is it?
I don't know, me and my sister definitely finished it, I think, in a week or 3 days. It's so good. I cried at the end.
Aww.
But yeah, it has very minimum similarities to Ace Attorney, almost none, other than the characters, which are goofy. I love the characters because they're also very diverse and representational. There's a lesbian couple.
Cute.
There's a gay character. There's people who don't have... They're gender fluid.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice stuff.
That's great.
And
it's inclusive.
Very inclusive. If it had to be a case, it would probably be the Magical Turnabout.
Okay.
Because of that, or maybe Turnabout Storyteller as well.
Because of the monster element?
Because of the monster element, because of theater, because of, again, camp, but also because in Turnabout... the Magical Turnabout at the beginning, there's that cutscene of Trucy running away from that dragon. Yeah, that's kind of reminiscent of Undertale. Yeah.
I get that.
Have I sold you?
I definitely want to play it.
Yes.
I just don't have a Switch. But yeah, it sounds so interesting.
It's honestly the best.
I'm sold. The next thing I'm going to talk about is... I don't know if it's a well-known game, but I think in the realm of visual novel, it has a strong reputation. It's 999. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
But I'll definitely recommend it if you liked Ace Attorney. It's a mystery game, and it's kind of full of puzzles where you need to... The whole premise of the game is you go to different rooms. You're stuck somewhere, and you need to get your way out of it by interacting with the other characters who are stuck alongside you. And the whole thing is you go to a room, you need to figure out how to get out of this room. So loads of secret passages and finding stuff in the room that leads you out of it. I don't 100% love this game because this is why I kept it of it's not one of the first game I talked about. I do feel like it is a good game. I just don't think it's a good game for me. It's very didactic. You have to have 10-15 minutes of dialogue before you can do anything for each room. And it kind of... I'm very claustrophobic in reality, but also in like fiction world. Like I feel like if I'm trapped in something, like I panic, and I don't know. It felt like it's a visual novel, but I feel like it didn't find the perfect balance between gameplay and storytelling, which I feel like, for instance, Ghost Trick does perfectly. Like, you'd never feel like the dialogue is going for too long or the gameplay is going for too long and you don't get enough information. In this one, because the story is so intricate, it has to tell you a lot. It's very detective, and so there's not a lot of room for the gameplay. However, I do think it's a really interesting and unique story. And there's already elements of the story that really left a big impression of me on me. I haven't finished it. It's a multiple ending game and I've reached one ending, so I need to continue it. But yeah, I do feel like if you love that kind of visual novel, you'd love 999, but just it has amazing and very interesting characters and a great story. Just warning, it's very dialogue heavy. And if I had to compare it to, like, I compared it to two cases. Airlines, because of the stuck element. In 999, you're stuck on a boat. And in 99, in Airlines, you're stuck on a plane. So, kind of the same element of claustrophobia. And the Grand Turnabout. Because in 999, it's very linked to the past of an element that happened before you, of an experiment. And I feel like it's the same thing with the Grand Turnabout, with the thing happening in the orphanage, having loads of impact on the present. So those were my two cases. I'm not sure I sold you on this one.
Yeah. I'm not really sold because I'll tell you why. It's not because of anything you said.
Oh.
But the thing you said about 15 minutes of dialogue.
I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but it definitely felt like it. Like, I think there was at least 5-10 minutes of dialogue.
That isn't really appealing to me because I'm also a really slow reader. But what really hurt your case for this one is that you've mentioned that you've played it so many months back.
Yeah.
You've been playing it for months.
Yeah, I think at times I've started playing it and played for 30 minutes and still couldn't do anything gameplay wise. I was still stuck in dialogue that I quit.
Hate that.
I just think it's not the best game for me, and so I wasn't picking it up every day.
Yeah.
There were times I haven't touched it in 2 months. So it took me an eternity. But I just feel like I'm not the right target. But if we're making an episode on game recommendation, I do feel like if you like Ace Attorney and you don't mind, because Ace Attorney is very heavy
yeah.
But I feel like you have more liberties. Just if you don't mind loads of dialogue, 999 will be the game for you for sure.
If you're not impatient, basically.
Yes, basically.
Because this sounds like a hell to me.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not that long when I think about it. What was the last straw for me is I felt like I played for a long time and I was so ready for it to be the end and to find out the whole thing. And I got to the end and it was try again. That's not the right ending.
No.
So I was
no.
I was so angry, and I think that's why I haven't played it in a while. That really struck a nerve, but then again...
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. I called my poor brother at the hospital, and I was pick up! Because he has played it before a long time ago, and then I was why were you calling me when I was on the shift at the hospital? I was Julian!
To clarify, your brother is
a doctor.
Yeah.
And I was why didn't you tell me it was a multiple game and I thought I was done and I wasn't? But yeah, I'm hoping one day I'll finish it because I do want to know how it ends.
Okay, yes. Perfect. So, the next one is something you've probably seen coming from a mile away. It's Scooby-Doo.
We talk about it all the time.
We do. Again, I grew up watching Scooby-Doo. It's my favorite, absolute, one of my absolute favorite properties. I couldn't imagine my life without it. Like, one of my first crushes was Shaggy. I remember,
Really?
Yeah, I remember, my dad, he used to work in an office, and we didn't have a printer at home. So when I was, a small child, there wasn't a romantic aspect to it at the time because I was such a baby.
Yeah.
I was
But you were
6 or
obsessed.
7 years old, but I was so obsessed. At the time, I think I regarded it as I want to be him so badly.
But really?
Yeah, that I had my dad.
You thought he was the coolest because he ate all the time?
I don't know,
Yeah.
he was so appealing that I had my dad at his office job print pictures of Shaggy.
Oh my god, that's so cute!
So I could put them up in my wall.
Are you doing Shaggy for Halloween?
No, I'm doing Scooby.
I feel like you should do Shaggy. I feel like you do have a slight Shaggy vibe.
Okay.
I mean that as a compliment.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, just to enlighten you, we're dressing up as a Scooby-Doo character for Halloween.
Yes, we found some friends who are down.
Yes.
For this bizarre
because this
group.
Was already the plan for 2020, but the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't have my red hair anymore though.
It'll grow out.
Sad. I could be Fred.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. But if we're specifically talking about more specific moments in properties, then I'd have to say it's Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights and Scooby-Doo Mystery Mayhem, which I grew up playing on the PlayStation 2. My personal favorite out of the two is Mystery Mayhem. I never really vibe with Night of 100 Frights, although it's the one which is the more publicly favored. Even though I have played it in more recent years, Night of 100 Frights, and I have finished it. And it's also an equally excellent game. But yeah, who the fuck doesn't know Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo is the best thing ever. It was probably there was two cartoons / TV shows as a kid that I watched a lot. It was definitely Scooby-Doo. I was obsessed with it, and I remember a specific vacation. I was probably 10. Yeah. I would wake up at 7 to watch it. And if you know me, I don't wake up. I'm a very late sleeper.
She is.
So that
I can confirm.
Loved for it. I loved it so much.
What's the intro in French?
Conan Scooby-Doo, nous on te suit partout. On va résoudre ce mystère.
Yeah.
Conduis cette mon chou. Conan Scooby-Doo. And then it goes. Na 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 na. It is so good.
The French intro of What's New Scooby-Doo.
Yes, it's amazing. Best intro ever.
I am obsessed. I have to admit, I am obsessed. This is an obsession. No, the Scooby-Doo.
With Scooby-Doo, for me, What's New Scooby-Doo is the best one because the one I grew up with. I did love Mystery Incorporated. I watched it in high school.
Here's how it happens. So Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries were the original shows.
Yeah.
Which made it famous, and then they introduced Scrappy, which we do not talk about.
Yeah.
And then to give into the obsession with babies in the 90s and 80s, there was Scooby-Doo Kids, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
The one that went Scooby-Doo, be Scooby-Doo. A pup named Scooby-Doo.
A pup named Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, a pup named Scooby-Doo. That was it. And that was actually it gets a lot of shit, but some of the episodes were actually entertaining.
I've never seen it.
It's okay. I guess I know why people hate it, but it's not that bad. And yeah, and then this is the part where I'm gonna... So last year when me and Lucy met, one of the first things
Yeah.
That happened was basically I went on a several Instagram story rant
About Scooby-Doo.
about Scooby-Doo, and this person who didn't even know who I was saw this about me.
Yeah, because we were roommates. If you guys don't know, we were flatmates. We were in the same flat and didn't really knew each other. Like,
Yeah.
Aris came in kind of late.
Yeah.
So I
wasn't there for freshers.
Yeah, I was closer with other people on the flat.
Yeah,
I mean, I talked more to them. And Aris is very intimidating in real life. He's very tall. And he was like, I come from the army of... Yeah, he just came from his army training.
I thought you were going to say I came from the army of the dead.
Yes, basically. And he wore Doc Martens. And he was very intimidating. And I remember, like, at first I was like, oh, who is this gentleman?
This gentleman.
Yes, with piercings and Doc Martens, and who's scary.
A leather jacket.
And he was intimidating.
I have to admit, it was a pretty intimidating look.
Yeah, it was an intimidating look. And I remember, like...
Which I haven't worn.
You haven't worn in a while.
And I haven't worn intimidating looks since then.
But it was cool. You looked really cool. And I remember, like, the first time we hung out, you were like... I liked your outfit. So I knew you liked me, but I could tell that the other people in the flat were really intimidated by you. Like, you didn't know if you liked them or not. And I was too. And I go on your Instagram one night and I see like a full-on rant on your stories about Scooby-Doo. And that completely changed the vision I had of you. Because I loved Scooby-Doo too. And I was like, okay. And can you believe that we were friends for like 6 months? And found out quite late into our friendship that we were both super into Ace Attorney.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's shocking.
Scooby-Doo, for sure.
But yeah, so basically that rant
was about
how Hanna-Barbera was going to sell Scooby-Doo to Warner Brothers, and until that happened in the late 90s, there were 4 movies. I think it was straight to DVD. And they were produced by Mook Animation, which was had a major Asian influence, and you can tell by the animation style as well. Its first is the I don't remember which comes first, actually. Oh, it's Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island, which is one with cat creatures, and then there's Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Then there's Scooby-Doo, I don't remember, is it Alien Encounters or something like that? And then there's Scooby-Doo Cyber Chase, which were like kind of like the last... these 4 movies all included like real threats, which kind of like overturned conventions because they also depicted Daphne as not a damsel in distress. So they overturned the conventions from the Hanna-Barbera versions, like the originals, and that was also reflected in the James Gunn live-action movies with Sarah Michelle Gellar, which came hot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, yeah, that was the new era for Scooby-Doo, like presenting actual threats and overturning conventions. Hot Velma.
Hot Velma.
Yeah, and basically it was kind of like the last hurrah, because after that it was What's New Scooby-Doo, which reverted back to its roots, and it was all like very reminiscent of the originals.
Yeah.
And yeah, just after that, like the next time something greedy happened was with Mystery Inc. Mystery Incorporated.
Yeah, definitely.
But in regards to the video games specifically, those are great. Like, they actually also present real life threats.
Okay.
And yeah, they're awesome. I love them. I bought my Mystery Mayhem disc got scratched like ages ago, and before I left for university, as a gift to my dad, because again I played it with him when I was a baby, I bought him and surprised it for him from eBay, and we played it again, and it just unlocked major memories, which I had suppressed for like like the last time I played it was like probably before I was even 10. Like maybe I was like 5 or 6 years old, and now I played it like when I was 20. So like 2 years ago. And yeah, I love Scooby-Doo. And if you haven't already picked up on the connection with Ace Attorney, it's basically how it's investigating mysteries, love for food,
true burgers eating people.
Yeah. So definitely Scooby-Doo. Have I sold you on Scooby-Doo?
I'm already sold. I'm so into it. But that kind of brings me to my next point, which is also a animation series.
Okay.
And for me, it's Detective Conan.
Okay.
I talked about there was 2 stable animated series in my childhood.
Oh yeah.
I was amazed. I was huge fan of it. It was What's New Scooby-Doo for me and Detective Conan. I also collect the mangas because they're still running and I have all of them. So I feel like it's a big part of at least my childhood bedroom, all of my Conans. And it's an amazing series, whether it's mangas or the animated show. It's really good. Your protagonist is, you get turned into a child because you're like this young detective who's like putting your nose where it doesn't belong, and you get kind of caught up with his investigation of Men in Black. And they turn you into a child. And so you start living with your basically high school crush. She's called Ran. And you create this kind of persona where you're Conan because of Conan Doyle. Like, you're obsessed with Conan Doyle. So you're like, oh, I'm Conan.
Okay, can I tell you something? Side note? Me. For the longest time, you've been mentioning Detective Conan.
Yeah.
And in my head, Detective Conan was Lupin the Third.
No!
I thought it was the same thing.
Wait, what? Lupin, No, that's not it! I mean...
I thought it was the same thing.
I have heard about Detective Lupin the Third, and apparently it's really good. But it is not.
Okay, it's something completely different, apparently.
Apparently in English it's called Case Closed. Detective Conan, so I'm just...
Is Detective Conan the French name?
Yeah, Detective Conan. Like, it's the same as the Japanese.
Okay, I thought it was Lupin the Third.
Yeah. No. Different.
Which I also have no idea what it is.
Okay. I think it's detectiving Lupin the Third.
Okay.
But yeah, so Detective Conan is like your name is Shinichi Kudo. You're this detective, get turned into Conan. And so you pretend that you're Shinichi's cousin from out of town, and Shinichi had to go somewhere, and now
is there an anime?
Yeah. That's what I watched as a kid.
Oh, I'm definitely watching this.
It is so good. And so you live with Ran, which is your friend from high school.
How many episodes are there?
It is really long. But basically, it's kind of like it's 2 story in one. Every episode, you have a new mystery because Ran's dad is a detective. He's a PI, but he's horrible, and he's so much fun.
Oh, maybe they have it on Netflix.
Maybe.
Netflix Japan?
29
seasons!
It is super long.
Okay.
Like, when I say collect the mangas, it's because there are more than 100 mangas. Okay. So you really have to collect them to have them all. But yeah, so you're this... And you follow Ran's dad, and whenever he, investigates, at some point, you, hit him with an arrow full of, sleeping drugs, and you take his place and you solve the mystery for him.
Okay,
that's how you go on. And it's so much fun. That just
entered weird territory.
Yeah, but it's you have all these gadgets to kind of still be a normal elementary school kid, but also solve mystery, and it is so good. So basically, there's 2 parts.
They drug the dad?
Yeah, every episode. They have little sleeping, darts.
Okay.
And he falls asleep for an hour. He falls asleep for 10 minutes.
Is it childish? Is it cartoonish, or is it more adult as well?
I think it's more targeted for children, but it's so good. I feel like one per episode a mystery where you're taken into, but there's the overall story of trying to get your normal body back, and with the story growing, like, you get new characters introduced and the mystery thickens about like who made you become a child again, how can you turn back into your normal body. It gets more intricate, the FBI is involved. It's such an amazing story and an amazing franchise. It is super popular in Japan, which I was really surprised because the way I got into it was like it was on cartoon, like it was on the Cartoon Channel in France when I was a kid.
TG?
Not TG, like the cartoon hours of one of the main channels. And me and my friend group was obsessed with it, and especially with the way it was made. You needed to wait the next day to find out who did it.
I'm definitely watching it.
It is so good.
Oh, wait.
What?
I didn't choose a case for Scooby-Doo.
Oh, I already know what case are you gonna say.
Turnabout Serenade.
Turnabout Serenade.
Okay.
Maybe you could put that clip before.
No, I'm not gonna.
It's too complicated.
I'm not an editing whiz.
I feel like I've been talking about Conan for like 15 minutes.
No, go ahead. I forgot to say that because we've already talked about. So not to interrupt you too much, but Turnabout Serenade would be Scooby-Doo because the crime happens at the same time. It's so gimmicky.
It's ex-girl vibes.
Hex girls at the concert hall. So yeah.
Definitely.
What was the one you mentioned before? Was it 999?
Yeah.
And you said...
Airlines Grand
and...
Turnabout. Yeah. So if you liked Phoenix Wright, if you like investigating, that kind of stuff, like murder mysteries, go watch Conan. And yeah, the way I got into it was like when I was 5 in like kindergarten. Me and my friends were obsessed with it, and we would reunite every day and be like, who do you think did it for this episode? Because it had great suspense. Like, you need to wait the entire day until you find out, like, after school who did it. And it was so good. And then I started reading the mangas when I got older, and I kind of, like, it's not that popular in France anymore. Like, it's a very niche thing, but when I went to Japan, it was poppin'. Like, in every vending machine, there was Conan drinks. I have a Conan shirt, and I wore it in public one day, and everyone was like, Conan! I was like, yes! So it is really, really popular there, and I recommend it. It's such a great series. If you can find your hands on the mangas, it's amazing. If you can find the anime, it's so, so good, so much fun. And a little story, like a couple of years ago, I was babysitting for my cousin, and I, like, put it on it. Like, I put it on the manga, and he's such a big fan of it now. So I feel like it's my legacy has been passed on, Conan-wise, definitely.
Okay, calm down.
So, and for Conan, the case I chose is Recipe for Turnabout.
Okay.
I feel like it's a very Conan vibe with, like, the fun characters. And Conan's have such interesting murder technique, especially because there's so many of them. But, like, I feel like it's very Conan with the kind of reenactment and the kind of overall plot that strike me as very Detective Conan vibes. So, what about you? What's your next game or series?
My last pick. I'm kind of struggling. I have 3 noted here, and like I want to mention one of them, but all 3 of them are like I want to mention for very different reasons. One is Jack and Daxter Precursor Legacy, which I know you've never heard of.
Never.
But it's in the same vein as Sly Cooper I grew up playing. So I think I'm going to sacrifice that one, definitely. I think it's very similar. It's like a platformer.
Okay.
And then Breath of the Wild is very well known. Like, we've both played it. So I feel like if someone, like, listening, I would highly recommend it. But because most people have played it, I don't want to... Like, I think it would be a waste for me to recommend it because it's huge.
I get that.
So what I want to finish with is 2 animes which I love. And again, like similar to Breath of the Wild, one of them is very well known. It's Death Note. But the other one is Erased.
Mm-hmm.
And I love both. I've only recently started getting into manga and anime, but I think I'm like doing very well. Like I'm reading my manga as well right now. I'm learning Japanese. Erased is basically the story of a manga artist. It's a just one season, and I think it's 8 episodes.
I think it's 12 episodes.
12?
It's still very...
Very short.
Very short.
And it's basically the story of a manga artist who has the ability to prevent murders when he gets the intuition that something bad will happen around him. And he can rewind time to like 5 minutes prior to the incident so he can stop it.
Ghost Trick-like.
Very Ghost Trick. That's exactly what Ghost Trick is, basically.
I never realized.
And, suddenly someone very dear to him dies, and the circumstances around it are very mysterious. And he rewinds so much that he actually goes back to his childhood, and he is given the opportunity to prevent the murder from years prior. So he has to, similar to Conan, he's trapped in a child's body, and he has to prevent a murder. And yeah, that's very Ace Attorney, although it does include child murders. Again, lots of child murders.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
What case would you think?
I think if it had to be a case, it would have to be Turnabout Inheritance. Because of the back and forth of time.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, again, it's like the Japanese culture obviously is reminiscent of Ace Attorney, but also the mystery aspect. The mystery, both me and Lucy saw coming who it was. But we had so much fun.
It was still enjoyable.
We had so much fun nonetheless. And then the other one is Death Note, which lots of people have seen. So I think it's my favorite anime up until episode 15. I think. Definitely amazed by it. Currently reading the manga. I love this anime. I love this story. Again, mystery based, mystery driven. Like I couldn't praise it enough. I'm so happy, like, I'm starting to discover, like, anime and Japanese culture as well. Like, I'm currently watching Neon Genesis Evangelion with Lucy. It's her favorite anime of all time.
I don't know if it's definitely up there.
What?
I don't know. I was thinking the other day. I have several which I love. It'll be a talk for another time, but there's definitely others, like...
Oh my god.
Maybe Neon Genesis. I don't know. I'm a huge Attack on Titan fan.
Okay.
So, and also in high school I was really into one called Zero no Tsukaima. So, but it's definitely up there. It's, it's probably one of my favorite for sure.
Okay. So yeah, we're currently watching that.
I'm very into it for sure.
We're taking our time. But yeah, if Death Note had to be an AA case, which is very difficult to ask, I would probably say it's a mix between Farewell My Turnabout because of the high stakes and
I was gonna say Farewell My Turnabout for Death Note.
The mystery of like an identity who is wanted, but also Turnabout Beginnings. Because Terry Falls dies seamlessly out of nowhere and with no reason, but also that there's like this figure which is like blamed and feared by everyone, and actually it's kind of like misunderstood in Terry Falls. It's like someone pulling the strings. Yeah. I
get that, yeah. I like it.
So that's what I have to recommend for now.
And you've definitely both sold me. I mean... I read Death Note before, and you told me about Erased, and you convinced me to watch it, and I loved it. So yeah, I'm sold. Did I sell you on Conan? I didn't ask you.
Yes, I'm really intrigued, although it is a child.
But to be honest, he doesn't really love children, so he's kind of like bummed out about being a child again.
I'll put that aside, that the fact that the protagonist is a child, and I really want to watch it.
It is so much fun. It might be hard to find though, but we'll look.
It might be on Netflix Japan.
Yeah, but it's so much fun.
Okay.
If you watch it, I might rewatch it with you.
Perfect.
And my final thing, I'm gonna touch on very lightly because, like you did, because I have two things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to mention Minish Cap, which is my favorite Zelda game.
Okay.
It's a great game if you're into Zelda games. It's not one of the most popular, but Minish Cap is great. Really fun. It's based on like the fourth element, and each element has a very distinct culture. And it's just a great game. It's really fun and cute and interesting.
For as a disclaimer, none of us are like huge Zelda fans, but the games we hold dear, because I only owned, like, I had the one with the boat.
Wind Waker. So I am actually kind of big Zelda fan.
Are you?
I have played every Zelda game. Yeah.
I thought it was like random.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry I spoke with Lucie.
No, it's okay. Because we don't really talk about it. But
We've never talked about this.
Every Zelda game with my brother again.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the Ace Attorneys thing were introduced to me by my brother, but I've played them alone. Whereas the Zelda games, we've done everything together. So it's my brother and I. Every time a new one comes, we'll free up time and do it together.
And then he deleted your save.
He deleted my saving for Breath of the Wild. I'm still mad. But yeah, Breath of the Wild,
feel like
Wind Waker.
It was definitely in my life, but I've never played it. I couldn't I couldn't get into the story. Like I wasn't like in my conscious mind as a child to like get involved. And I did have Wind Waker, and I also had Twilight Princess for Wii.
Yeah.
I've never played them. The one I truly played, and it wasn't like because I'm a Zelda fan, it's because of all the hype, was Breath of the Wild.
And it delivered.
I don't have a Zelda bias. Like, I was never into it, but I can hands down say it is the best, most well-made game I have ever played.
It's amazing. The world building is fantastic.
My Switch says I've spent 201 hours playing that game.
I'm not surprised. It's so well made.
It's been over a year.
You just get lost in the game.
You get so immersed, and there's things that are still being discovered on YouTube. Like, it's so good. So good. Highly recommended. And that's why I was like, we all have our favorites from Zelda, even though I'm not as a huge Zelda fan. You are.
I get that. I feel like Zelda as a franchise is very different from Ace Attorney because it's not as, I don't know, it's not as story based. It is very story focused, but it's more like gameplay and an iconic franchise.
Yeah.
And
like Mario.
Yeah. But Zelda, I'm a really big Zelda fan. The thing is, I don't know if I would have been a huge fan if it wasn't for my brother. Because he introduced me to loads of stuff, but then again, I played it by myself. So if I didn't like it, I stopped. Whereas with Zelda, we played it together, so it's very symbolic for me. But Minish Cap is one of those where I played alone, and I love it. Like, I know I'm not biased on this one. I do love it. It's a great game. I would recommend it. But it's actually not the final game I want to talk about. The final game is called Another Code, and it's a game, and there's also another code, R, A Journey to into Lost Memories. The second one is my favorite, actually. The second one was on Wii, and the first one is on DS. And it's kind of, visual novels. You're a girl who loses her memory, and you're kind of trapped somewhere, and through your investigation of the place, you understand stuff about your family and your past. It's really interesting. I don't have loads of memory of it, but I do remember liking playing it. And I think it's the first game I played after finishing Ace Attorney. So I think I really associate with Ace Attorney. It's like puzzle-based and very story-focused. And it's a fun, it's a very interesting game. It kind of fell into the same realm as 999 in my mind. Of this kind of visual novels aimed at kids and teens. And Another Code was good. I have really fond memory of Another Code R, A Journey into Lost Memories, because I think I was probably 12 when I played Another Code and like 14 when I played the second one. And she was a kid in the first one and she was a teen in the second one. And it's a great portrayal of teen girls. Like, it touched upon stuff that it was really interesting for me, like insecurities about like growing up and cool kids around you and not really fitting in. It was just like, it was a really interesting portrayals of teenage girls in video games. I thought it was interesting, like really realistic. And if I had to pick one for the first game, I'll have to go, and that's not a good case, but that's the only thing I could think about. The Last Case of Apollo Justice.
Succession? Okay, parentheses, you're an idiot.
Why?
Because, okay.
First of all, how dare you?
Context. Year 1, Lucy told me that she really, apart from Ace Attorney, she really liked Hotel Dusk, which I tried playing, and then Another Code. And that kind of reminded me of a game I had played. So when I went back after the pandemic and we FaceTimed, I showed you my DS collection and I told you, this is a game that reminds me of Another Code. And you told me, no, that's nothing like it. And then I Googled it and it's the same game. Trace Memory is Another Code.
Oh my god.
So I have played it.
So you know what I'm talking about? You told me
it wasn't. Yeah, I know.
I must have gotten confused. I think I was talking about the second Another Code.
No, I think Another Code might be another title.
I think it might be like Another Code Trace, like the second part of the game.
The Wikipedia has it as Another Code 2 Memories, and then Another Code 2 Memories Trace Memory.
I don't know.
It's
Maybe
confusing.
it's another game that I haven't played of the same franchise.
The protagonist isn't the one with the white hair?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, then we played the same game.
That is so funny. I have no memory of that conversation.
I remember on FaceTime, I was so sure this was the same game we were talking about. And you were like, no, I've never seen this before. And I was like, okay.
I had never heard of that title, though.
Trace Memory?
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird.
So I do know what you're talking about. Although I've never finished it.
Maybe Another Code is the French name.
Maybe. Like the Detective Conan.
But yeah. But it is... So what do you think of the game?
I barely remember it. I've never finished it, but I do remember it was so intriguing.
It's really mysterious.
And it's so shocking because as soon as you said Turnabout Succession, I was like, okay, it's the same game.
Because it's like kind of...
Like that digital...
Yeah, digital feel.
I know.
And then for A Journey to Lost Memories, which is the second one, Another Code R, I picked the Aquatic Turnabout because it is set in summer and you go into this like lake kind of village. So it's
that's the one I played.
I really like it. It's really good.
Okay.
So the first one is also set near a lake, but it's more like gloomy, mysterious. The second one is more like summery and you explore the town and stuff. So yeah, those were my recommendations.
Fantastic.
Did I sell you on it? Do you want to replay it? Re-explore it?
I think when I get back home, I'm going to... I'm going to...
Yeah, why not?
Play it on the DS over the summer.
For sure.
Like, finally in my right mind after snapping out of childhood, which was a fever dream, I might actually be able to follow the story.
Perfect. That was so long.
I know.
Didn't expect it at all.
Same.
We were worried.
We were worried. Like, actually, I screenshotted our messages without telling you.
Really? Tell me.
Where you say, I feel like this episode is going to be shorter, though. And I said, yes, same, because I personally won't have loads to say.
And then...
Guess what, bitch? Verbal diarrhea.
Every time we start recording, verbal diarrhea hits.
Okay.
But it shows that we're very passionate about video games.
We are very passionate about video games. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for listening. Up, if you're still listening, thank you for tuning in and
Until
staying
the
around
end.
until the end. We hope you enjoy your recommendations and get to try them. And yeah, we definitely trust our recommendations.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know if you've played any of the games and if you agree with what we said or if you're intrigued by any of the game we've mentioned.
Definitely.
For the second time, what are we gonna do, Aris?
What are we gonna do? Well, you're gonna cook pasta for us.
Yes. Gigi Hadid's recipe of pasta.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. You told me about this.
The spicy vodka pasta.
You don't like spicy stuff though.
I will put spicy on just your plate. Do you want me to make it spicy or not?
I do.
Okay.
But it depends.
It's not that spicy.
Okay.
It's spicy for me, but even I can handle it. So
I can handle my spice.
Perfect.
I think I can.
I think you'll be fine if I can handle it.
Perfect. So yeah, we're gonna eat spicy pasta, and I feel like watching Evangelion tonight. Maybe.
Really?
If you're down.
We have loads of stuff to do.
We do.
We'll see.
But
definitely the pasta is first on the schedule. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Good evening, good morning, and goodbye.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Bye,
I'm
bitch.
dancing.
Bye,
Bye.
bitch. Hi, everyone. So, yes, I did that. And you would do it too for our check. I was an employee. And I was going to get Employee of the Month. And that's on period.
An iconic moment in Disney Channel history. Absolutely.
Adult Disney Channel.
Well,
Adult Disney.
Adult Disney.
Yes.
For sure.